Welcome to episode 203 of the Campus Comics Cast. My name is Scott Reed, and I'm joined on this episode by
Mike Atchison.
And we want to remind you to be nice to your local comic book shop for the next few months. With everything happening with comic distribution in Diamond, it could get messy for a while. So be patient with your local comic book shop as they try to sort out where they're getting their books from, what books they are and are not going to be getting. So again, be patient with those LCSs because they deserve your business. And, so we need to all just kind of, keep calm heads, not be too upset about missing some books, because there's a real good chance, especially if you're somebody who picks up books from the smaller publishers, that you're going to miss out on those. So again, just in case you haven't heard, Diamond, of course, filed for bankruptcy, and all the announcements that I'm seeing are making things look worse for Diamond. And one of the articles that I want to talk about, this is from the website Comic Beat, talking about what some of these what we'll call indie publishers are actually going to do, how they're going to, and they pick three here of the publishers to talk about. The first one that they are talking about is a publisher I've never heard of called Black Panel Press.
No.
And they're basically in a situation where, they have distributed through Diamond. Well, they're saying that Diamond owes them about $28,000, and I can imagine for a small press publisher that's a lot of money for that publisher,
Right.
So that they may not see that money because that's what the Chapter 11 did. It gave them protection from their creditors, and the books that they're distributing, well, I guess they would count as their creditors. Another company, Coffin Comics, most people would know them because of Lady Death. They're going to apparently go direct sales, so they're just going to cut out distribution apparently, maybe, for the time being, until they can get something worked out with Lunar or another distributor. And then another one is Antarctic Press. Mm-hmm. They do stuff like Ninja High School, Exciting Comics, and they're basically saying at this point it's kind of a wait and see. But what I thought was interesting was that they had tried to get in with Lunar and Penguin Random House, and they didn't get any response from either of those distributors. So they were kind of looking for a different option, but neither one of the two distributors would talk to them.
Well, that's something I heard that Diamond did, and was sort of led to some of their problems, is that they were really a champion of some of the smaller, and I'm not touting any distributor over the other, but everything I've heard was that Diamond did go out on a limb, sometime to its own damage, that they would let publishers owe them money. They would let them go into debt, and they didn't have really any limit on the number of books or the dollar amount that they could sell, something to that effect. Whereas I think Lunar and Penguin do. So maybe this smaller press company you're talking about maybe just didn't meet their minimum.
Yeah. It could be, because the numbers that I heard, and this was from a newsletter that Douglas Paskovich of Arsenic Lullabies did, was that Diamond would give you 3 months to get your sales up to 1,000 issues. I don't know if that was maybe back when he was just starting publishing. I don't know if that was the case in 2024, but Diamond did obviously offer a lot of books from a lot of independent publishers, and we're not going to see as many independent publishers. Now, a couple of things that I also discovered just related to this was that at Lunar, they did pick up Mad Cave, Tomorrow's, and Vault, which were previously at Diamond, or at least partly distributed by Diamond. They're going to be exclusive, obviously, with Lunar. But Massive Publishing, and I'm not for sure. For some reason, I think they have something to do with Radiant Black. Maybe that's just the Massive verse. Maybe I'm getting some things.
Yeah, I think that's the Massive verse, because Image, that all fell
Image
under
does
Image,
Radiant Black. Okay, so that's probably not it. But there's a publisher called Massive Publishing And
Right.
they're going with Lunar, but they're also creating an imprint called Massive Indie, which is going to apparently help some of the independent publishers. Now, could this just be a money grab from this company to try to, pull in some of these independent publishers? Who knows? I don't know really what to think about it at this point, because they're probably just trying to. And again, this is an article from Comic Beat talking about it. But so there's one way that some of these smaller publishers might be able to get some distribution from Lunar, but I expect that's going to take months, for that to all get all worked out.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know about Mad Cave or the other one that you mentioned going to Lunar. I did. I mean, we
Tomorrow's.
had
Was the other
Tomorrow's,
one.
and
Yeah.
that's good. I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm a big Tomorrow's fan. But so you had. I mean, just to kind of go back in time here, we had DC was the first to break, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what order after that, but it wasn't long before Marvel went to Penguin, Image
Right.
went to Lunar, Dark Horse, and then most recently Boom Studios went to Penguin. So those are some big publishers, some of the biggest, and all that left
And,
really is
and the
Dynamite
biggest.
and
Yeah.
yeah. Would you have Dynamite and Zenoscope?
Titan, I
or
think it's
Titan?
the yeah. Titan is like the second largest. That was still at Diamond. So
Yeah.
and again, so the moral of this story, and the reason why we're talking about this again is just your local comic book shop, especially with the indie books, is going to be struggling for a few months.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody who's ordering a lot of indie titles, you may miss a few issues. You may, they may be delayed 2 or 3 months. So just keep that in mind. Be patient with your comic book shop.
And we're in this in this day and age. I think delays is just pretty well. We're used to that. I mean, at least back in the 70s and 80s, if they didn't think they had the sales power, they would put out a book bi-monthly or maybe 8 times a year. So this sometimes there's just these days it's not necessarily, they'll try to go monthly and then they fall off right away. So
Right. Yeah.
but I think, just like the saying goes, keep calm and read comics.
Read comics. There you go.
Read your back
Well,
issues.
Well, I do want to say it was really, really nice. We got actually several comments on the last few episodes of
Yeah.
the Campus Comics Cast. So we appreciate that. It lets us know we're not talking in a vacuum here. Mike and I would talk about comic books if it was just the two of us talking to each other. So I'm not upset, but it's just nice to know that somebody's out there listening. So a name that you might recognize sent me a direct message, Shad Schubert. And he said, "Hey Scott, listening to the newest episode, and you talking about Genius. That was it was the winner of pilot season that year, because I said I hadn't read past it, right? And Shad let me know, hey, it won, and it was actually a 5-issue series that came out later on. So later on, they did a sequel called Genius Cartel, and I think I have all the issues of Cartel. If I haven't gotten rid of them, you're welcome to them. So yeah, so just to piggyback on Genius, which was that Afua Richardson drawn book, which I had picked up just because I wanted to get something signed by her, and read it and read it. So Shad said, "Hey, there's actually been 2 series from that, so it actually won that was it pilot season there with Top Cow." So that was good to know.
Wow.
And then the next comment was from Eric at Longbox Review. Now, this is going back to episode 201. So it's just basically said he was listening, and he had a comment for Mike. He says, Mike, and this is talking about the Martian Manhunter series. He said, Mike, I think Rossmo is the perfect artist for Martian Manhunter, so I'm very interested in his absolute book. So Mike, I'm gonna give you the floor and let you respond to Eric on that one.
Well, I don't want to jeopardize our friendship, Eric, but Raleigh Rossmo is the one, to me, the most cringeworthy artist in modern times for me. Now, that's a personal opinion, and I've seen some better stuff, but there are certain facial expressions and body language that I just don't quite like. And I guess maybe hey, there's a comic for every artist, and as we like to say on this show, style sometimes is high when style doesn't always equate quality. So you could be, if you're a good storyteller, you have to be careful not to be put off by certain styles. I learned that from the artist on the Many Lives or the Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
That I remember Ram V being the writer, but I don't remember the
Writer.
artist. But it was, I remember thinking, wow, I do need to open my eyes a bit and be open-minded. But thank you, Eric. But I still, if I see Riley Rossmo's name, I steer a little bit clear of it.
Do you think maybe it has something to do with the fact with Martian Manhunter being a shapeshifter? Then that's probably why he thinks that style might fit that book well.
Yeah. I mean, and that makes sense. It's going to be. Yeah, I'd say that's right on the money there. And maybe,
Okay, all right.
Eric, let us know if that's your rationale.
Right. And Eric also mentioned that and I think this is also directed at you because I don't think I was going to read this title. You'll have to let me know how you like Adventure Man. I didn't care for the first volume despite the Terry and Rachel Dodson art. And I agree with Eric on this one because I read the first issue. It just didn't grab me.
Yeah.
So that was that series. I think it's Matt Fraction written with the Terry and Rachel Dodson artwork, and you mentioned you're going to pick up the second volume of that, or at least give it a shot. So
yeah, it was. I knew I had heard of it before. This was last episode, I think, last previews episode at least that we talked about it, and it was the Dodson art that caught my eye, and I thought, oh, that might be a fun one to pick up, and yeah. So and then I got educated on that it being actually there was an earlier volume of these books. So yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. I guess if I like the second volume, maybe I'll go back and get the first. But I trust Eric's judgment and yours, Scott. So I won't keep going.
You can just report back. Yeah, you can just report back. So, and then I apologize if I butchered the last name here. Michael Cathro. He's apparently from Evansville, so I guess this is one of the guys. And I apologize because I'm terrible putting names to faces. That mentioned that he had been listening to the Campus Comics cast last time I had a show over there in Evansville, and he's referring to our first 5 for the Lev Gleason Daredevil back in episode 202, which I guess was just the last episode. I should back like that was a long time ago. But he said it was great listening to this episode. It's so funny to see how crazy some of the Golden Age superhero origins are. Now, he says, I'll admit I do like the Project Superpowers books that introduce some of the Golden Age characters to a new audience. So, and I think that's in reference to you saying that you were reading some of the Project Superpowers because of having read some of the Golden Age Daredevil. Right. So how is Project Superpowers so far?
Oh, I've gone all the way through it, and I enjoyed it. It meandered a bit in the middle issues. I think there were some plot holes and stuff, but the last 2 or 3 issues were spot on. I think Jim Krueger can be a bit verbose, and I think he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do until about 2/3 of the way through. Either way, it was neat seeing these Golden Age heroes revamped with new powers, new costumes for the most part, and a storyline that brought them together where they weren't at all together. There was no cohesion, back in the Golden Age. It really rarely ever was. Yeah.
Okay. Now, Michael also says that he wanted to give a shout out to Brian Morris, who's an author, and both you and I have met Brian. I know Brian pretty well. I know you got to meet him last year. He has that book called The Terror, which is based on the Golden Age Black Terror. And the thing that's interesting about his version of the Terror is that the character is actually black instead of just being, so it's very interesting. And Michael's read the whole thing. I've only read about the first third of it. It's great. Part of what I've read is terrific. Yeah. I've got to get back to it and get that finished.
Well, I bought a copy of that from Brian at Perryville, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, at Herald Kids Con. Yep. So, yeah, it's have you started it yet?
No, I honestly, okay. If you're reading it, let me know when you start because I want to start at the same time.
Okay. Well, I've started, but I got about, like I said, about a third of the way through. I'm a vacation reader, so I usually only read books on vacation. Right. So it's probably the next time I go on vacation, when I'm sitting around someplace, is when that'll get picked back up. So it may be June or July.
I travel. I do most of my reading when I'm traveling,
But you travel a lot.
And I do, so I can pack it with me and read it on one trip, I'm sure. So,
And then Michael also said he was talking about NPR's podcast Planet Money. If you haven't heard it, wanted to buy a superhero, ended up doing a series of episodes about the process of getting a hero, publishing a comic, getting other merchandise, and even a musical made. And apparently you can find all 8 episodes if you search for NPR Planet Money Superhero. So if you're looking for something to listen to, that's a recommendation from Michael there. So thank all of you for your comments. We really do appreciate it. And just as a side note, we'll be throwing Eric's name back out again. He did send us some recommendations of some things that we should talk about in previews, which is what the primary focus of this episode is actually going to be. So I actually have something on page 8. I have something before DC for once.
whoa.
Yes.
And
So do you have anything before page 8?
Let me scroll down to my list. Actually, it is also page 8, but I know exactly what you're going to talk about. So go right ahead.
Yep. Okay.
You
All
got
right.
dibs.
So yeah. All right. So this is something that also Eric suggested that people try to pick up. So we have Polis, which is written by Mark Russell, illustrated by Lacey. So I don't know if Lacey's a proficient enough artist to be able to be recognized by a single name yet. But written by Lacey, and this is going to be a sci-fi anthology. We'll call it a series, even though this is a one-shot. All right, it's going to be oversized, 48 pages. And anytime we've got a chance to do sci-fi and anthology, that's definitely something I want to, at least mention. Plus, with the Mark Russell writing, he did, of course, Second Coming, Death Ratio. Mike, what else has he written?
The Martian. Oh gosh, it was the one I lauded so much. It was the guy that was dying of cancer that was sent to Mars. Anyway, Russell, I'm a big fan of. I mean,
Okay.
it's in this art. I know Lacey does have a last name. In fact, Lacey's mentioned somewhere else, if I'm not mistaken. But I've seen. I think it's a she. Could I don't know if he or she, but
Right.
there is a it's some of the other work that Mark Russell has done. I believe I've seen that name. So, but
Okay.
the art looks fantastic too, and I like the premise as well.
Yeah, so it looks good. So that's from AWA. Now, okay, they're at least with Lunar, we know, so that book should get distributed properly.
Right.
All right. So what do you got next?
I'm on the very next page. So
Okay, go
on
ahead.
page 16 of the big catalog, or the big Lunar catalog, also under AWA, there's a whole bunch of different titles that are basically reissues called under the throwbacks section, and it includes one called Not All Robots. I don't remember ever seeing this before, but it's written by Mark Russell, art by Mike Deodato Jr., which he's a great artist, colored
He's good.
by Lee Low Ridge, and also very well known. But it's basically in 2056, robots have replaced humans in the workforce. It's one thing about Russell. He always seems to put science fiction. It's almost like science. Could it be fiction? Maybe it won't be someday. It may be real.
Right.
And he does nail it really well like that. He's like. It reminded me. I don't know, Scott, if you've ever seen that movie with Robin Williams called The Bicentennial Man.
I know of it, but I don't think I ever watched it.
Yeah, it's, Robin Williams plays, this is back in the 90s, I believe it. He plays a robot that really outlives his entire family, but over the course of time, the robot it gets upgrades, and it learns feelings and gets a central nervous system and stuff. And it's kind of a tearjerker of a movie in the end, but why this, other than the robot theme, I don't know why this reminded me of that movie, but it made me want to go back and watch the movie again. So, it's called
Crazy what it takes.
It's a trade paperback collecting 5 or 6 issues. Not All Robots.
Okay. All right. Page 21. You got anything for 21?
No, I'm up into DC then.
Okay, so this is also a recommendation from Eric, and Eric did recommend a lot of trades. We don't normally talk a whole lot about trades, but Eric mentioned several here, and again, you can find Eric's stuff at Longbox Review is it thelongboxreview.com or just longboxreview.com?
Just Longbox Review.
Longboxreview.com if you want to follow along with the Eric's podcast as well. So it's a Hecate's Will, written and drawn by Iolanda Zanfardino, and it's about a New York City graffiti artist, right? So I'm gonna leave it at that. So if that sounds interesting to you, then pick that up. Based on, I'm assuming Eric's read some of the single issues, so he liked it enough to recommend it.
Yeah.
And then I'm also in DC, so.
I want to comment, though. I just scrolled past Death Ratioed, which you mentioned earlier, also by Mike Russell, was also illustrated by Lacey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's good then, yeah.
Yep. So I maybe I didn't notice a last name, but I remembered seeing that name more than once.
Okay. All right. Good deal.
Yeah,
So my first thing in DC is not till 52.
I am, ever since you told me about this handy page jump, I'm so happy about that. Normally, I mean, I haven't been picking up Action Comics, except or unless the creators are, because they've been going through these, top-notch creators, Gail Simone, others just in different storylines. So I haven't been picking it up regularly, but G. Willow Wilson in Action Comics 1085, she's writing a story that it basically it's I think it's interesting about the global warming angle, with how Superman, it's just one of them stories where you kind of expect Superman can solve every problem, and it's basically a deal where Lois is saying, you know what, you need to work on this. So I might pick this up just to see where it goes, because I'm a big proponent of preserving our world for our future generations.
Right. Okay. Well, it's kind of like how they had to explain why the superheroes just didn't win World War II for the Allies.
Right.
Know?
Exactly.
So
yeah.
they've got to explain, well, why isn't anything happening now? So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right. Anything before 52?
Nope.
So I guess in conjunction with the release of the movie, we are getting a Superman Day from DC to go along with Batman Day. Now, Batman Day is later in the year, if I remember right. But they're giving us some, cheap bundled books, including All-Star Superman #1, Superman for All Seasons 1, Jimmy Olsen's Super Encyclopedia, Superman Day, and then some special hardcovers and deluxe versions of Action Comics #1, All-Star Superman Deluxe, Superman Unchained Deluxe, with the Jim Lee cover.
So let me
some people.
Let me make sure I understand this, Scott. It says, like for All-Star Superman #1 Special Edition, bundles of 25 at $7.50 per bundle. So that's what the retailer can purchase that bundle of 25 for and resell it for any amount?
What they're supposed to do, or what they're encouraged to do, let me rephrase that, is give those books away. So it's kind of like another free comic book day.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
So even on free comic book day, your local comic shop is buying those comics that they are giving away.
Yeah.
So this is to entice you to come in. And what I normally see most shops doing is, you buy a certain number of books, or like you get one just for coming in. You can take one more if you spend $5, or I've that one shop in our area, if you bring food in for their food pantry, you can take another comic book, and so they'll have some little, you get one or two for free. There's only a handful on Superman Day, but I like to buy these bundles and set them back for Halloween. And in addition to giving out a little bit of candy, I give out comic books.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to buy these. I guess it's about 30 cents a book.
Yeah, and it's just, I think it's important what you said. It's important that people know that free comic book day or Superman Day, Batman Day, whatever, the free part of it is thanks to your comic shop, not necessarily the publisher. It might be cheaper thanks to the publisher, but not free.
Yes. I'd say, if they're only charging about 30 cents a comic, Lunar or DC, they're not making any money probably, or very little, like pennies,
Mm-hmm.
per issue. And I suspect they're subsidizing it.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
But they just don't want somebody ordering 100,000 copies, and them being out. So they got to put some price on it so people will realistically, order a certain amount. So.
Yeah. Right.
All right, I'm to 58.
I'm at 56, and that is Absolute Green Lantern #1, written by Al Ewing, art and cover by John Lindsay, and it's, again, in the Absolute universe, these are different takes on characters. In this case, it's, with the Green Lanterns, there are so many anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really clear who this Green Lantern is. It's a female, it appears.
You don't think it's Sojourner Truth?
Well,
or,
that's what Sojourner
yeah.
Mullen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my guess.
Far Sector, yeah.
Yeah, the Far Sector. That's exactly what my notes say. Is this Joe?
Yep.
And, because the solicit doesn't say
Nope.
anywhere on the cover, but one would assume, just because it's a black female Green Lantern. And if that's the case, I'm, not to pun it all up, but I'm all in on this one.
Well, I think, wasn't this solicited last month? I thought we talked about this.
Well, I thought so
month.
too.
Okay,
In
all right.
fact,
So it looks like it's been delayed already,
Yeah.
because I think this is oh gosh, I haven't read it. Cam Foy, he's the Asian Green Lantern.
Oh, right, yeah.
right.
The Vietnamese.
Yeah, so he's in
mhm.
is he Vietnamese?
I think
okay,
he's Vietnamese, yeah.
Okay, but he was in one of the DC Giants that included the introduction of the Monkey Prince, or was it Monkey
Yes.
Prince or Monkey King?
Yeah. Monkey Prince, yeah.
Prince,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so he was introduced there in that particular book, and I don't know, is that supposed to be John Stewart in the lower right hand corner?
I don't think. I mean,
You don't think so?
He's got glasses.
Okay.
I've never known John Stewart to wear
No,
glasses.
John Stewart to have glasses either, right? So I was just trying to figure out who this character.
Now, Hal
might be, since
Jordan
they
is in
don't-
the top left. You can tell with his aviator jacket. So it could very well.
Oh, you think that's okay? So you think that's Hal Jordan in the upper left?
Well, just based on that jacket, you can see kind of like that fur-lined or whatever you call that
Okay.
stuff. That looks like one of his bomber
Oh,
jackets.
okay. So I was saying that was the Cam Foy. So apparently I'm wrong and you're right.
Oh, right.
So.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Okay. Yeah. I guess we'll find out. So you'll find out when you pick this up.
Yeah.
So you can let me know.
Okay.
Oh goodness. Hey, talking about Martian Manhunter. Look who's not the artist on the second issue.
Yeah. Well, I don't know I don't know. I can't remember what kind of art Javier Rodriguez has or does or whatever. The cover definitely is like, what the heck? But hey,
Yeah.
it looks very
Don't say it.
60s almost. You know.
58. These two books were also recommended from Eric at Longbox Review. I assume you're going to want to talk about one or both of them, so I'm going to let you take this page, Mike.
Okay. Well, it's a crossover between. You can call this the Wade verse. This is Batman Superman World's Finest 38 and Justice League Unlimited #6, and they have connecting covers, and it's the first two issues of a 12-part, I guess, series. Well, maybe it says part 1 of 6, so I guess that maybe is combining. So maybe it's 3 issues of
Three
each
issues in
title.
each,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but the storyline is called We Are Yesterday, and I'm curious. I've been reading, of course, Justice League Unlimited, and I'm liking it more every time I read it. But it makes you wonder. I mean, it just seems a little bit redundant because Batman and Superman are already in Justice League Unlimited, so what's the crossover bit about? So either way, I'm sure it's going to be a cool story because there seems to be no limit to Wade's imagination.
I'm just glad they're not doing, because there for a while at DC, they had a one-shot and then like 2-issue crossover between like a couple of series.
Oh, right.
And then another one-shot to close it up. I'm glad they're just putting it all in the regular series.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
that was just so irritating.
Yep.
When they were doing that. So.
And actually, part of I failed to mention that the Batman Superman World's Finest annual, and you notice they don't give annuals a number anymore. They just give them a year, and that makes perfect sense. But the 2025 annual is also part 3 of this We Are Yesterday storyline.
Okay. So it's going to be so I bet the other annual for Justice League Unlimited gets part 6?
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
And well, this is part 3, and you could have the other annual be part 4, and then
4, okay.
And then maybe the next 2 in the regular titles
in
be
the
5 and 6.
titles?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's almost like the one-shot thing, but at least it's in the named title. I don't know what I think about that.
Yeah, it's well, a lot of shops, they know that if you're a regular buyer of a title, they'll pull the annuals for you too.
Yeah. My next thing's on page 80.
I am at page 66. Okay. So stand by. This is Flash. Yeah, it's a I guess it's what they call it, a Flash event called the Bad Moon Rising, and it's going to feature a villain that is one of the big DC villains, Eclipso, and he apparently is going to maybe have some of or be as powerful as Darkseid was, because apparently Darkseid died. Well, we know that already in the storyline. He died, but of course he'll get better. So yeah, it's just I just wanted to mention that it's Cy Spurrier's been doing Flash now for, counting this one, it'll be 20 issues. You mentioned, I think, last episode that some of his earlier stuff was pretty metaphysical, very. Was it you? Maybe I just read that somewhere.
I don't think it was me.
Yeah, so it was a little tough getting through that first 6 or 8 issues. Even though I liked it, I was like, oh, I got to think too hard for this one. So some of the more recent stuff with Wally and his family being in Skartaris has been good and a little bit lighter reading, but still somewhat complex. So Spurrier, he really he puts it all into it. So the art's, it's mediocre to good. Yeah. But anyway,
I was say this facial expression, and I'm assuming that's supposed to be Wally. It just looks off to me. I don't know, and it's like it's there multiple times on this cover. Yeah. So it's just like the face is just a little just something's not quite right. I can't quite put my finger on what the problem is.
Yeah. And well, one of the negatives I do have is his new uniform, his new costume. It's different, and but hey.
I hadn't even noticed that he had a new costume.
It's got a lot of black in it, black and red, and with all the lightning marks all over it. But they still try to distinguish him from Barry, and they probably need to, or at least let Barry die for good. All right, all you Barry fans, don't be sending me hate mail. I'm good up until page 69.
Okay, still you then.
I only mention this because it could be the first appearance of some villains, and it says get ready to meet the Gun Buddies, and I don't know any more than that. I tried to look up, see if there was any other appearances of this. I don't know if it's a team or a pair of villains or what they are. It reminded me of the pair of villains called Body Doubles back in the 90s, but I don't know much more about it. I just had it earmarked because it may be a first appearance.
Okay, all right. Good catch. You got anything before 71?
No. Page after, yeah.
I'm just going to mention this because we talked about this before we started recording. At some point, we're going to talk about the first few issues of the Ram V New God series. We're going to do that in our next episode, but I think we decided we're going to wait until maybe the first story arc is done and then talk about the Ram V New Gods first X number of issues compared to the Jack Kirby New Gods X number of issues, whether that be 4, 5, or 6. we'll have to see how many actual issues the first story arc is.
Mm-hmm.
But they're soliciting New Gods 5 to come out in April. So
But I don't think it's spoiling anything to say that you and I both are liking it so far.
yes, I'm enjoying the first two issues quite a bit. This is, I was kind of getting concerned as people were hyping up Ram V so much, and he was okay, but I'm digging New Gods. So
Yeah, yeah,
and the second issue still landed good for me. So
good. I haven't read the second one yet. I have it, but I haven't read it. So the next page is the Power Company Recharged #1, and the Kurt Busiek was the brains behind this team back in, oh gosh, maybe the early 2000s, and I think it's pretty much, it's not really the same concept. It's just got the name in common, and you have characters like Jace Fox Batman, which is great because it's a good character and it's a place for him to do his thing without feeling like he's getting in the way of the rest of the Bat family. And you've also got the Signal, which is Duke and Vixen, and they're investigating a serial killer in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm interested to see where this goes. I see Black Lightning is also on the cover, so I imagine he has a lot to do with it. And Josiah Power, which is what the Power Company, who it's named after, he's the founder and sort of the leader, I guess you'd say.
is he the guy like in the upper left hand corner?
Yeah, with the beard and bald-headed.
Beard.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
The original one had characters like a clone of the Paul Kirk Manhunter. Remember that, Eric? We talked about that a little bit. It had Skyrocket. Had some newer characters. Had some old characters. It was a lot of fun, and so I guess there's a little bit of nostalgia there that makes me want to pick this up and see what it's like.
I'm still at 80.
Okay, so a couple pages down. Zatanna #3. Now, I'm sure I mentioned this when Zatanna #1 was solicited a couple months ago. Zatanna 1 doesn't come out until later this month, later in February. So I can't say what it looks like, but I can tell you that in the Justice League United or Justice League Unlimited issue 3, there was maybe a 3 or 4 page preview of Zatanna 1, and it looked fantastic. It looked really good. I mean, Jamal Campbell he's been one of my favorites in recent years, so I think he's going to live up to the hype.
Good deal.
Are we missing any? I'm kind of trying not to scroll past any of Eric's mentions either.
I've got a list, marked. So okay. I've got him listed. So 80. His next one is on 83. So okay. I've got something on 80.
Then, yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so page 80, Free Comic Book Day. DC has a list of some of the books that they're going to be offering. So they've got the DC All-In Absolute Universe 2025 Special Edition. So I'm assuming this is going to have some little snippets of several of the Absolutes and All-In titles in a single book. They've got a more kids book, which is Superman's Good Guy Gang. And then they have Kanga U 2025, which is apparently the DC heroes as kangaroos. I'm not for sure. Okay. So, no. Wonder Woman's home island of Themyscira holds many surprises, the most adorable having floppy ears and long tails. Kangas are companions and partners of the Amazon. So there you go.
Yeah,
so it's not actually.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
They had kanga races. They rode them like horses back then.
Ha! Okay. All right. So they're leaning into that. So
apparently.
All right, so page 83, this is a recommendation from Eric. He's mentioning this is a Black Label book, and I think it's the only Black Label book this month from DC. Written by Ram V. Resurrection Man Quantum Karma, which is a 6-issue series. So, Mike, I know you know more about Resurrection Man than I do, so you want to add anything to that?
Just that if Eric's thinking the same way I am, it's just Mitch Shelley was in the Resurrection Man, his alias, was one of the more unique characters in the 90s. I want to say it was the 90s. I think it was. And innovative. He had, of course, resurrection powers, but I'm one that I hate to even say because I might be wrong, but I want to say he was created by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning, the writing team. But while you're looking, or I'll keep going while you're looking. But
Okay, yeah.
the art, Ramvi is writing this, and the art's by Anand R.K. and Jackson Butch Geis, which we all know Butch Geis, and he might have been the artist on that original Resurrection Man series, and his art really does still hold up too. Um,
According to Wikipedia, created by Andy Lanning, Dan Abnett, and Jackson Geis
there you go.
in 1997.
Boy,
First appeared in
actually-
Resurrection Man #1. So you were right on
I
it.
got the trifecta. All right, cool. Yeah, it was a good series then, and I'm betting it'll be good as well. So I agree with you, Eric, on this. I'm going to definitely pick it up too.
So now this is okay. So I was reading this, and then there's another character very similar on the Marvel side called Mr. Immortal,
Yes.
who has basically has the same power, and he was created in 1989. So, but also by, well, of course, this is created by John Byrne. So, and I think they even kind of mentioned that it was because of how boring Mr. Immortal's powers were that they created Resurrection Man. So,
Okay. I wonder if I'm not really. You said you're seeing that on the Resurrection Man page
on Wikipedia.
on Wikipedia. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know of a Mr. Immortal. I know of an immortal man, but he died in the Crisis. And
Well, Mr. Immortal is Marvel.
Oh, okay. Marvel. Gotcha.
Yes,
Well,
yes, Marvel. So
different-
that's so over on
different
the
universe.
other. Yes,
Okay.
DC's distinguished competition.
Right. My next one is on 86, unless Eric has something.
You're
before
you're
then.
good. I got 92 for Eric.
Okay, so More Fun Comics number 73, the facsimile edition. Now this is not a book that just any of us is going to pick up very easily or cheaply. It features the first appearance of Aquaman and Green Arrow and Speedy, and
Oh, wow.
it is I have probably read these first appearances individually in reprints here and there, but it's got the cover has a half helm Dr. Fate, and it's I'm definitely gonna. I won't get every facsimile, but I will get some that if it's not something I can get in its original sort of package. Yeah. Now I think the next page is, or the bottom half of that page. I thought that he did the Brave and the Bold number 60. Yeah, it's on page 86 there. The Eric had listed.
Oh, okay. I missed it in my list. So apologies to Eric. Go right ahead, Mike.
Yeah, on that same page, another facsimile. It's Brave and the Bold number 60, and it's not the first appearance of the Teen Titans. It is their second or third appearance, I believe. The first appearance of the Teen Titans was in Showcase like 54 or something like that. But both Brave and the Bold and Showcase were Showcase type books. They featured tryouts for different teams, different characters, etc. So, of course, it was written, had some of the writers of the time, Jack Schiff, Bob Haney. The art was Win Mortimer and Bruno Premiani, who's famous for Doom Patrol art, and the cover by Nick Cardy, who's very famous for his Teen Titans art. Are we on the first appearance stuff accurate, or?
I'm just was wondering, when does Beast Boy first appear? I know he's in one of those issues.
No, he first appears in Doom Patrol number 99.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's also not where he joins the Titans then, because he's not on the cover.
Right. He doesn't
Okay,
join
all right.
until the Wolfman Perez number 1, or I guess you'd say DC Comics Presents number 26.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I
He was not.
I would have swore he was in Teen Titans he doesn't join the Titans, but he appears in that book.
Oh, you know what? Maybe he's in Teen Titans West Coast, the West Coast Titans. But I don't know if he. You know what? I think we should leave it at that, because I think you're right. He may have. He wasn't called. That's right. He was called Beast Boy, but it wasn't. It was in 1980s New Teen Titans that he was called Changeling.
Okay.
So I think I'm picturing a West Coast Titans cover with the original Beast Boy on the cover. So whether he was a member or if he was a
A
auxiliary member or
guest or
whatever,
something.
but yeah, he had appeared in some Teen Titans books before the Wolfman Perez run.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying. You're the DC guy, so I'm putting you on the spot. But I know he was around there. I mean, Beast Boy was around at this time, or within a few months of this issue. I was pretty sure.
Yeah,
So
yep, yep.
okay, uh, let's see. Where am I at here? I've got 92.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, so this is another recommendation from Eric. This is Wonder Woman Historia: The Amazons. This was a okay. So this is a Black Label book collected. I didn't read this. Mike, did you read it?
Well, I'm ashamed to say that I purchased all of them and I haven't read them yet. I flipped through them
Haven't
and
made it.
I oogled over the art because you've got. It says right here you have like you know Gene Ha, Nicola Scott, and Phil Jimenez. It's some of the best art you're ever going to come across. But yeah, I've got to pull that. It's something about those magazine size, those oversized. I put them
Hmm.
aside and I don't get them. They don't get to my read pile.
I hated when Black Label did that because like I have a handful of those
Hmm.
and I can't put them with my regular collection. They won't fit in my two read boxes, so I've got them in the closet and I forget all about them.
Yeah.
Plus, you don't feel like you can open them up because it's going to really break that spine.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
open them up to read them. So I wish they would get away from these magazine. I don't even like the square bound books, let alone
Right.
the magazine
Like those
books.
old
You know.
Prestige.
Hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I just wish they'd get away from that. But this would be a way to, pick it up. So
Well, I marked this down to get just to maybe preserve the original issues. I wouldn't mind having this. Is it a hard or a soft? Yeah, it looks like
I
it's soft
didn't
cover.
look.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd rather have a hard cover of it because I think it's that
I'm sure
kind of
if you wait
quality.
long enough, it'll happen. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a book that we talked about briefly during our John Stewart Green Lantern first five. This is on page 97, Cosmic Odyssey. There's a deluxe edition coming out. I have not, I say I haven't read this. This is a recommendation from Eric.
Yeah.
But I have it on my to read list after you had mentioned it during the John Stewart. I think you said this is one of the first times that you read John Stewart, or that he was significant.
It was significant in the story. Yeah.
There you go.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So I had this on my list whenever I'm looking for something to read. This will probably be a digital read, not a physical read.
Yeah.
Whenever I get around to it, but so Cosmic Odyssey, the deluxe edition, is another recommendation. From
Yeah. It's
Eric.
it's great. It's great Starland Space DC stuff. Much better than some of the later stuff that he did with DC's Space Heroes, but I treated this as an event because it wasn't long after this came out, not long after Crisis. Uh, it, but it was good, yeah. And Mignola, I mean, that was probably my first time ever seeing his art. My last thing is on that same page, the Batman Hush Absolute Edition. So everybody knows, we got Hush 2 that's
Mm-hmm.
coming out, I think in Batman 158. That story starts with the same creators, right?
I'm seeing that
Right.
advertised as
I
H2SH
know.
instead of Hush 2.
I hope that's not really the way it looks on the
I hope that
cover.
doesn't stick. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. I thought the same thing when I seen that. But yeah, so if you want to get it all in one package and reread or read for the first time, it's for $100. You can get these 372 pages of Jim Lee art and Jeff Loeb writing, and it's one of the better storylines of the 21st century so far. That's all I got in DC.
Okay, I'm going to the rest of the catalog here. My first thing is not till page 143. So you got anything before 143?
Let's see here, Scott. I got to look at my notes. It's
Okay,
oh, look at us being on the same page. Yeah, I'm
same
on
page.
143, but you go ahead.
Okay, so this is from Execution Posse Holdings. Now they are, I guess, an imprint of Keenspot,
Hmm.
and if you've missed it, Keenspot has been very fortunate to get Mark Spears Monsters.
Yep.
That has put this company on the map. But the reason why I'm mentioning this book, it's first issue, The Chamberlain's #1, and it's apparently already in development at Sony.
Yep.
So it sounds like uh, it's a Dracula vampire story in Harlem is basically what it boils down to. So so The Chamberlain's #1, the cover art looks great.
Yeah.
They don't unfortunately have any preview pages for it. So, but I'm definitely gonna order a few copies of this just in case.
Yeah. I mean, it's I can say I like a good vampire story, but sometimes they're hard to come by. I mean, it's might be an overused trope, but I still like to give different ones a try once in a while. And I'm going to do the same. I want to try this one out. It's 32 pages for $6, and it comes out April 30th.
April. Right. We got. Okay, I had this down, I thought, on my list, and apparently I put the wrong page number. Okay, so I'm on 146.
Okay, you go ahead.
Okay, so now this is from Fantagraphics. Yes, Fantagraphics. This is called The Lost Marvels #1. I think that probably should be Volume 1, but it actually says #1 on the title. But apparently they are reprinting. Fantagraphics has got the rights to reprint the Tower of Shadows, 9 issues from Marvel. And this has apparently never been reprinted before. So they have the entire series, which includes work from Jim Steranko, Neil Adams, Barry Windsor Smith, Stan Lee, John Buscema. So that's a pretty good list there of creators for this. So again, 9 issues, $34.99 hardcover. It's not terrible, for this book.
Yeah.
So, and with those creators, so if you like a little, 70s, or actually I guess it was 1969 horror stories from Marvel, here's a chance to pick up that entire series.
Yeah. It looks like, is that 8 by the
8.8 by 11.3.
Yeah, is that a little bit oversized?
I think it's a little bit
Yeah.
larger. We should know. Well, okay, that's almost yes, it is, because a piece of paper is 8.5 by 11.
Right.
So it's going to be wider it's going to be bigger than a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So it's bigger than magazine size.
Right.
Or maybe it is magazine size.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah.
So. I wish you hadn't have told me that.
Sorry.
So it's like now it's like, well, it's a hardcover. I got a shelf for those.
You can,
so
you can
that's
put it on
different.
a shelf. Yeah.
If I decide, I don't know if I'm not a big 60s, 70s horror guy, but
I bet the art's worth looking at.
Still, yeah, it's still cool. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it. So.
Yeah.
The next one we got's on 148, and this is unless you have anything before 148.
I do, but it's right. I'm at 148. I don't know if it's the same thing as you, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, this is from Eric, and I'm just gonna say up front, this is not a book that I'm gonna be ordering, but I guess Eric has it on his list. This is from Fantagraphics. Also, it's called Skin by Sabine Clement and Mickey Versip. And it's this lyrical graphic novel paints a captivating portrait of 2 women in search of themselves. So that doesn't sound like something I would enjoy reading, but Eric thought everybody should be aware of this. So
yeah,
I'll just leave it at that.
It's got that. It's got some. It's very stylized art, and I don't know if he had read anything by this author before, Clement, but yeah, I can't say that I've ever bought anything from Fantagraphics. But it's as luck would have it, the very page before it is Walt Disney's Donald Duck: Tales of Andold Wild Duck, Disney Masters, Volume 26. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I have just read the first volume of The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, sort of outside of my regular wheelhouse. And that will be featured on an upcoming episode of the Roadshow with our buddy Matt. So anything duck related, Matt's all over, like
Like Matt on a duck.
Like Matt on a duck, yeah. So But yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that. I wonder if Matt's going to get it. I bet he will.
And Mike, I'm going to guarantee that you have some Fantagraphics someplace in your collection because Fantagraphics has been around for a
Yeah, yeah,
long
maybe.
time. So
It's just not something I remember.
no,
Yeah.
what's bad is I was sitting here thinking, okay, what are some of the titles that, and I couldn't come up with any except for Dalgota, which was that John Strawn, like he's a dog
Oh, yeah,
guy.
yeah,
I know there's other stuff out there,
yeah.
but it's the only thing that is popping into my brain from Fantagraphics. So
Well,
Image.
I
Oh,
also
go
have
ahead.
something. Is the our reference our book that we are going to say in honor of Shad because it's a rock and roll
Oh,
book. It's
okay.
called the. It's on the same page, 149. It's the bees, the women who rocked Lithuania. So I know if Shad was on the show, I would be bringing it up to him if he didn't bring it up already. So I'm doing it anyway. So there you go, Shad. Just it's
Either for him or in spite of him, you are bringing up
all
the
right.
bees.
It's the true story of Lithuania's first all-women rock band. Sort
There
of
you go.
the Bangles of Lithuania.
All right, we ready for Image?
Image. Yep.
Image. All right. My first thing in Image is on 161.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so on 161 we have not one, not two, not three, not four, but five one-shot silent issues. So anybody who is a GI Joe fan, even
Oh my.
remotely, should know about GI Joe issue number 21, which was the original. Well, I guess I shouldn't say the original silent issue, but it was the silent issue featuring Snake Eyes and the first appearance of Storm Shadow for GI Joe fans. This, believe it or not, was actually the first GI Joe comic that I ever read. It was given to me as a gift. But they are now doing 5 additional silent issues. One for Beachhead, one for Jinx, one for Spirit, one for Roadblock, and one for Duke. I am not a GI Joe fan. I tried at one point. I had like the first 4 trades for that series and started the first one. It's like it was so bad. It was awful. So I didn't make it through the first trade. But of all these, the one that actually interests me is Spirit. He's the Indigenous American Joe. I just thought he was always cool because he had like the eagle that was kind of like, instead of a falcon, people who are what's falconry. He had the eagle instead.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the ones that I thought was coolest just from the outside looking in on GI Joe. I could see that being a particularly good issue of these 5. I really don't know enough about the other characters to even care.
Yeah.
But the Spirit one I think is actually pretty cool. But anyway, for those who are fans of GI Joe, you've got 5 of these one shots to look at and not have to read because they're silent issues.
Well, I've never. Who are the writers? Is it
It's not Larry Hama.
Larry Hama?
So we got Phil Hester, Danny and Dan Waters. Let's see. They don't list the writer.
Not on all of them,
Spirit.
no, do they? No.
No. Huh. That's odd.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're. Wow, they don't. They only list the writers on the first 2. Oh
Yeah.
no. Okay, story cover. Leonardo Romero. Okay, Andrew Cronky on Roadblock.
Oh, they're
and Wes Craig.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're doing story and some of the covers. So we
Okay.
got the artists, I guess, because they're just drawing the story because there's not any.
true. Makes
words.
sense. Yeah.
There you go. All right.
That makes sense.
So
Well,
like I said,
I
I
haven't.
might get Spirit.
I haven't. Okay. Well, I haven't read a single GI Joe book, although I did at one time own issue 1 of GI Joe: A Real American Hero, which I sold to Matt again, I think. And I don't know. Sometimes because I'm a DC guy, I when I see the GI Joe characters, I sort of start equating them with the Easy Company from Sergeant Rock's group. But I guess maybe I should read something one of these days that's GI Joe related. If it's better than what you remember, maybe something later on.
Maybe something later on, or maybe start with the Image run. I haven't read anything from the Image run. I just know that original one, other than issue 21,
Yeah.
which I thought was really good. I never really could get into GI Joe. So
Right, right.
all right, so I'm on 167.
You go right ahead.
Okay, so on 167 we have I was a fashion school serial killer. So this is just a 5-issue series, Doug Wagner story, Daniel Hilliard art,
Yep.
and basically the premise is that we have a serial killer who really wants to be a fashion designer. So they actually get accepted into fashion design school, and I guess they have to decide if they're going to keep being a serial killer or not.
Right.
So
And this is from the mind of Doug Wagner, who wrote Plastic and all of the spin-offs. Doug Wagner, the one I
oh,
interviewed on the Road
okay.
Show, yeah.
Okay.
And art as well. Daniel Hilliard did the art on all the Plastic, at least on the last two. You had Death and Dolls, and then the first Plastic. But yeah, it's the same Doug Wagner, and I got a kick out of that one variant cover. It's sort of an homage to the
Oh,
Janet Jackson on the
yeah.
Rolling Stones cover, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I had that earmarked as well. And
Oh, okay. I
and
didn't mean to steal that from
oh
your
no
mind.
no no, I actually also had the one before it. I just got my pages mixed up. It's called Golden Rage Mother Knows Best, and it's I kind of like the idea. It's all about women that are old and fertile, and they're deemed useless by society and abandoned on an island. So it almost had this, to a degree, had this Handmaid's Tale vibe to it. But it I don't know. It seems just interesting enough that I could pick it up.
Yeah, they have a few pages of the story, and I guess it kind of ends with apparently a baby gets dropped. I'm assuming it's a baby gets dropped off on the island
Yeah.
because all they have is the
Yeah.
baby
Yeah.
crying, but they don't show what it is.
Right. Right.
So I don't know, but I did look at those, and it was I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger on that
Right.
that one.
Right.
So it's just kind of out of my what I thought what I would enjoy. So my next thing is 178.
I right on 171, right after the one we just covered. Lost Fantasy #1. It's a story by Kurt Pyers and Luca Casalawinguida. My goodness, these names get harder every time. It's a world of magic, myth, and monsters, and I'll just say it has this something is killing the children vibe to it, and
Okay.
I mark a lot of things I don't end up getting, but I'm not really sure. Like you said, I haven't pulled the trigger on this one yet. So
Okay.
it's 48 pages. This first issue for $5. I'm not even sure if this is going to be an ongoing series or if it's just a one shot.
Yeah,
So
let's
no,
see,
it's
do
a
they even
series
say?
premiere. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So how until it is until it isn't.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So now I will back off until we get to the or the ghost machine stuff.
Okay, all right. So 178, we have Moonshine Bigfoot. So I learned about this title last year at the Superman celebration. Zach Howard, who is, I guess, co-creator of this character. This is something that he's been working on for a while now. I've been following him on Instagram, so he's been posting some, pages for it and talking about Moonshine Bigfoot. So it finally gets its solicit. The basic premise is that you have a Sasquatch family. It's almost a homage to Superman. All right. So you have this Sasquatch family. They're apparently in the forest is being destroyed. So to save their child, they put it in a logging truck, and it gets shipped off, out away, saved from the disaster. Does this sound vaguely familiar? It's maybe not at Krypton, but it's the forests in the Northwest. And en route, it gets bumped off the logging truck and picked up by a family, apparently somewhere on the Georgia, I got to remember if that's Alabama line, who happen to be moonshiners. So the
Oh boy.
the young Sasquatch grows up and becomes a moonshiner. So thus, Moonshine Bigfoot, 4-issue series. It also has some work from Steve Ellis, who has done work at Marvel. He has a book, excuse me, called The Last Living Boy. I picked that up from him directly
yeah.
at Gen Con a few years ago. Haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but I have it. Maybe with all this reading that I'm doing now, I'll actually get
Right.
around to it.
He actually
So,
did a sequel or another volume of stories called The Last Living Girl as well. He used to,
and then
yeah. I'd heard some basically some podcast promos for his books on a podcast I was listening to.
he also did a revamp of the Red Guardian at Marvel. So,
Oh, okay.
if he didn't get a credit for inside of Black Widow and stuff for his version of the Red Guardian, he should have.
Okay.
So anyway, I want to throw that out there. Zach Howard did a ROM cover for me, so on a blank sketch.
What
so
con was that
cool
at?
too. That was at Superman Celebration
Oh.
last year. So
Okay.
yeah.
I wish I would like to have met him. I just didn't know. I didn't put two and two together.
Oh yeah, it was. They've done a pretty good job at Superman Celebration in the last few years, getting some decent guests. So, because that was when Carl Kiesel was there, Mark Spears was there, and Zach Howard were all there last year. So.
Right, right.
All right, I'm at 200.
Okay, I'm gonna jump up to. I'm just gonna quickly mention Geiger and Redcoat there on 189 and 198 respectively. Geiger issue 13, Redcoat issue 11. I'm still picking these up. I'm still enjoying it. They're the two series from Ghost Machine that I'm really liking the most, especially Redcoat. So, I farther down, I guess when we get to, or maybe I'll just say it now. Rook Exodus trade paperback is on page 215, collecting issues 1 through 6. That is a series I have not read any of, but I heard it was really good. So I'm sort of a fan of this Ghost Machine universe.
Page 200 last month from Savage Dragon in issues, I guess it would be 276 and 277. We met the first two of the Dragon Children. Now in 278 and 279, I think we have the final two Dragon Children. So Tyrone in issue 278 and Maddie in issue 279. It's almost like tryouts to maybe see what the future of Savage Dragon is going to look like. So just throwing that out there as because that's one thing about Savage Dragon is it's like time has progressed,
Right.
You know, so it's like the original Savage Dragon is no longer around. You know, so we have that Savage Dragon son, and now we're going into the third generation of dragons. So
Eric Larson is a machine. He's just a machine.
you can say he can crank it out because sometimes the quality's not consistent. I'm gonna phrase it like that.
Yeah.
Not consistent.
Yeah.
But at least he has dedicated himself to that book. He's not quite to he's behind compared to Spawn, but he's up there. I mean, he's getting close to issue 300. So
Right.
so it's great that him and McFarlane both have stayed true to those characters that they took over to Image, unlike pretty much all the rest of that crew.
Right.
Who just left them pretty quick. So I'm at 212.
Go ahead. Yeah, I got it.
Well,
Go ahead.
Did you have 212?
No, that's I just noticed that was Eric's.
Yep. That's a recommendation from Eric. It is the Horizon Experiment, and I'm actually glad he pointed this out because I think we talked about some of these books whenever they came out, at least the first one. But these are collecting 5 one-shots with that basically feature I'll just read it. The most celebrated names in comics, literature, TV, and film, providing pilots for new series featuring a Chinese James Bond, a Muslim exorcist, a reverse Indiana Jones, East African werewolves living in Miami, and an Evil Dead for black nerds. So you've got these 5 one-shots put together in this single book called the Horizon Experiment.
I definitely remember a couple of these. The East African werewolves living in Miami. That definitely rings a bell. I mean, you don't hear those words put together very often.
So this one, I may have to pick this one up just because it does look kind of interesting. And I've not been ordering a lot of trades. If it's a trade, I'm pretty much if I only want it in trade, I'm just waiting to read it digital.
Yeah.
But I may go ahead and pull the trigger on this one. So thank you for sure, Eric, for pointing that one out for me. Then on the next page, he also has the first volume of The Moon is Following Us. This is from Daniel Warren Johnson. Art by Mike's favorite, Riley Rossmo. I don't know. Maybe he just mentioned this one just to twist that knife in there just a little bit.
Maybe.
But this collects the first 5 issues of that series. And then 222, we have Lore. Do you have anything before? I'm sorry, 220. You have anything for 220?
No.
Okay, so these next 2 are also from Eric on 220. We have Violent Flowers trade paperback. Not familiar with this. I don't even remember seeing this one. From Mariah Lovett.
Yeah.
So it's a horror, occult, supernatural, dark fantasy.
Now,
Looks like it has something to do with vampires. Yeah, the Sentinel, a vampire who watches over all supernatural creatures, has been murdered.
yeah. Well, if the previous book I read by this creator was any indication, I would not pick it up. I did not like. She did a book called Crave, which
I haven't read that.
it had something to do with an aphrodisiac type substance that was in the black market and the effects it had on people, good and bad or whatever. But I just didn't enjoy it. The art was fine, but I didn't enjoy the story. So we'll see. This is a different story. Maybe it's better.
Maybe it works better for you. So.
Right.
And then on 222, Lore Remastered. So I assume the remastered is because this has been previously released. So this is a remastered version of Lore. I don't know that for sure because it just kind of says Lore and then in small letters remastered. Story by Ashley Wood and T.P. Louise. Art and cover by Ashley Wood. A unique mix of prose and sequential storytelling. Follows Jennifer Bradley's journey to solve the mystery of her father's death. Then I'm done with Image.
Okay, I am done with Image as well.
Okay, so I'm down in Oni Press on page 259.
I have a couple in Mad Cave Studios I'd like to mention.
Ahead.
The first one actually is it's featured on the cover of the first page of the Lunar catalog, and it is called One Path. It's an original graphic novel, and it's basically you have dinosaurs and a tribe of cave girls scratching out a bleak existence. And it just, I was always a big fan of Tor and Anthro and some of those prehistoric stories, and anything with dinosaurs, if it's done well, if the art's done well, I just love those kind of stories. So I'm definitely going to get this OG in. One Path by Greg Broadmoor, and that's writing and art.
Okay.
Next page is the next one. It's goodness, what the heck here? I lost it. Buried Long, and Buried Long Ago. It's the first issue of 5 by Anthony Cleveland and Alex Cormack, and it's set in just at the turn of the 20th century, where it appears that a woman lured dozens of lonely men to her Indiana farm and kills them. So it's sort of like a serial killer of its day, and it just seemed real enough. And
well, it says it's based
on a true story too. Yes.
Of course, the X-Files, the first episode of the X-Files also says based on a true story.
Right.
Watch that.
Right. So no, this really intrigues me. I'm going to get it. It's a 5-issue series. I imagine if I get the first one, I almost always get the whole thing. So, but yeah, I like that. I like the setting and the time period.
And to completely derail things, I didn't realize that there was going to be another season of the X-Files released on Hulu. I think this month.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So I don't know. Just throwing that out there. So
cool.
I thought I saw that someplace.
Yeah.
Maybe I just hallucinated it. I don't know. So. All right, I'm still on to 59.
I am done in that area in this catalog.
So this is from Oni Press. This is my last thing in next phase. Plague House, number 1 of 4. So I guess They claim that it is going to this story is going to rebuild the American ghost story from the ground up. So, but it appears to be a story about some I'm just gonna call them ghost hunters. But
Mm-hmm.
it's basically looking at a murder that took place 13 years ago, where a father kills his family. They say brutally, and they actually show how those events happen during the course of some preview pages. So, Plague House for those who like ghost story and or a little bit more closer to horror style genre.
Michael
Actually, I guess
Conrad.
there's 8 pages. Yeah,
Yeah.
8 pages of preview art. So,
Oh yeah. Michael Conrad's a good writer. He's known for teaming up with Becky Cloonan, I think, quite a bit.
oh, okay.
Hmm.
So you said you're done with next phase catalog?
I am.
Okay, as am I. So Marvel.
Yeah, let's do Marvel.
Okay, so I'm just gonna start on page 2 and 3. We've for Godzilla fans. I'm not picking these up. I'm just gonna go and say I'm not picking these up. But we've got the continuation of the Godzilla versus. So we have Godzilla versus the Hulk. We have Godzilla versus Spider-Man. So fans of Godzilla, here's your chance to pick up some more Godzilla books. If you want to see more, you better buy these.
I've got
And
on
then,
page
yeah,
5, 4, and 5. I wanted to mention.
right.
Did you, or unless you had it already?
I had it, but you go right
Okay.
ahead.
I mean, it's a new volume of the Amazing Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Kelly has taken the reins. Uh, got art by Pepe Larraz and John Romita Jr. And it's what volume 6, 7. I'm not sure.
12,
Yeah, I don't know.
13, 15.
But at some point, I just like the Rhino. I guess if I want to boil it down to why I mentioned this, and Rhino's featured in this first issue.
Okay.
To me, he's one of the more visually cool villains in the Spider Verse or in the Spider, you know, of the Spider-Man characters. But I I kind of want to get the first issue at least, just to say I have an Amazing Spider-Man #1. No matter what the volume.
Okay, all right. So, and there's 2 issues for April, 1 and 2. So I don't know if this is going to be twice per
Oh
month, or
right,
if
yeah.
it's just timing for the first issues. So let's see. I've got 14,
Okay.
which is a new 3-issue Daredevil series. Now,
Yeah.
to me, this kind of reminds me of the Spider-Man Reign story, Reign,
Mhm.
where it's moving the character forward in time. So you have a much older Matt Murdock whose powers and abilities are fading. So this is a 3-issue series from Charles Soule and Steve McNiven, Charles Soule had a pretty good run on Daredevil. So I think he knows and understands the character. So I'm thinking about this series. I'm not 100% for sure I'm going to pick it up, but it may get the order. I'm still
Sure.
kind of tossing that one around a little bit. So
He's looks like Matt Murdock has the Catwoman style stitched together cowl, the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman style,
oh oh yeah
all
yeah
stitched
I
up.
see
Yeah,
that now.
like he ran out of money to buy a new uniform, so he just stitched together pieces.
I'm on page after that. I'm on page 34. So nothing till 34 for me.
Well, there you go. I'm on the same page, but you,
You're on the same page.
yeah, you
All right.
go
Well,
right ahead.
I'm sorry, Mike. I'm going to take this
You
one.
take it.
So,
Okay.
all right. So we have Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. This is going to be a new 5-issue series written by Chris Claremont. So for now, I think the first, what I'm going to call the first volume of this story, was actually titled Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. I think it was a 6-issue series, but it's in that story, which was also written by Chris Claremont, that we end up with the Shadow Cat version of Kitty Pryde, and it is in that series where Wolverine kind of takes Kitty Pryde under his wing. This is where she gets her quote unquote ninja level skills, is from training during that series. That's a series that I have great memories of. Whether or not it would hold up if I were to read it again, I don't know. But I do have a lot of nostalgia for that first series. So with Claremont
Okay.
being back on a Kitty Pryde and Wolverine 5-issue series, I'm probably gonna have to pick this one up. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you took the lead on that, because all I wanted to say was, man, does Alan Davis still have it or what? I mean, he did the cover on this first issue, the main cover, and the guy's probably mid-70s. I mean, he just this art is fantastic.
I'm looking because they show the Adi Granov cover, Marcus 2, Ricky Yagawa cover. I'm not seeing unless it's the
oh, maybe I guess it's
the one with
it's
the
the main
Kitty
cover.
Pryde in
Yeah.
blue and
Yeah,
okay, all right.
that's Alan
So, all
Davis.
right.
I can definitely tell by
That's Alan
the
Davis?
style it's
Okay.
him.
Okay.
And it also says there in the credits.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they didn't label that one as all the other covers that they
Sure.
show are labeled.
Right.
So I guess that one on page 35 is the one you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm up to
then
62, so
Okay, so I've got 59.
okay.
We have Moon Girl and one thing about Wolverine and Kitty Pryde, it claims it's going to have multiple first appearances. So there you go. All right, page 59, we have Moon Girl and Devil's Dinosaurs 10th anniversary. And I'm only mentioning this primarily not for Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, but because Impossible Man is part of this story. So I got a special spot in my heart for Impossible Man.
Yeah, that's a character I've heard about, but I've never read a single story with him. So
Okay, so if you can only read one Impossible Man story, the story to read is X-Men Annual. Oh gosh, 8.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Impossible Man is on, and maybe it may be 9, it may be 7. I'll have to double check the annual number. But Impossible Man is on an intergalactic scavenger hunt. So
he's sort of a Marvel Mitsopidlick, right? Something
yes,
like that.
yes,
Mischievous.
Well, I think even there's a DC where apparently they hint at Impossible Man and them being the same person, just different.
Oh, that would be.
dimensions.
Oh man, I would
Yeah.
love to read a story like that, where it
Yeah,
just
I'm trying to
crossed
remember
over.
where that came from. Well, it doesn't cross over. It just basically says that
Right.
they're
Oh, okay.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I mean,
Yeah,
just
those
have an
dig
in
into
story, just a mention, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
And I
stuff.
know that unofficial crossovers, between Marvel and DC is one of your things.
Yeah,
so.
I love that. Yeah.
And believe it or not, I'm done with Marvel after that one. So.
I have one
You
more
got anything
thing.
else
It's
from
on
Marvel?
page 62, and it's only because it's called The Concert of Champions. It's issue 1. It's just kind of a music themed. It looks like that might be, is that Dazzler in the
Yes.
front? And I know
Dazzler, Lila Cheney, and I'm trying to remember who the third one was.
Yeah.
I'm not. I was just going off of memory there.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I should just punch in the number instead of scrolling back to it. 60. What'd you say it was? 60. Oh, there it is.
62.
2. Okay, it says who they are. Lila Cheney and
It's so small on my
Cheney,
computer.
Dazzler, Spider Gwen. Of course, she's a drummer, so she's probably in the background. Who
Luna
is-
Snow.
Okay, Luna Snow, K-pop sensation. So she's the one on the right.
Okay.
Luna Snow's the one on the right that has like the snowflakes around her.
Okay.
Okay. Lila Cheney is on the left. She was introduced in New Mutants Annual 2. She was like an intergalactic rocker, and her and Cannonball Sam Guthrie kind of had a off again, on again thing.
Uh-huh.
There you got Gwen Stacy, Spider Gwen there in the upper right hand corner.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
She's been a drummer in a lot of stuff, and of course you can kind of guess who all the hands are down here at the bottom. You got Wolverine,
Oh, right.
Black Widow, Thing, Ghost
Spider-Man,
Rider,
yeah.
Spider-Man, Hulk. I'm assuming that's Iron Man.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. who that
Yeah, I see Ghost Rider too. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
is
so
that
anyway.
Punisher in the black glove on the left hand
Which
side?
on the left? No, that's Black Widow.
Oh, that's Black Widow. Okay.
Yeah, Wolverine, Black Widow, Thing, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man,
Hulk.
Okay, I think the one is Iron Man, but
Yeah.
I don't know who below Iron Man
yeah.
is. But
Wait,
but
is
anyway,
Luna
so, yeah.
Snow? Does she have like cold powers?
Yes, she
Okay.
does.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, the reason I brought it up was that I just noticed the cover dress, the title, Concert
Oh.
of Champions, is just like the now I forgot that. What was it? The Challenge of the Champions or the
Contest
of the Champions?
Yes,
Yes,
Contest
from
of
the
Champions.
80s or whatever.
80s.
Yeah,
It was like sometimes it's considered the first limited series. It's
yeah,
like 3 issues. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, enough
And we
said.
spent way too much time.
We are
talking
going
about
long.
that
Yeah.
cover. Yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm done with Marvel.
Okay. Yep. I've only
Okay.
got one more on my list. Oh no, I don't. I have a few pages up for in the previews in the
Okay.
Diamond catalog.
In the pull box.
Might be
Okay.
a couple
Let's see.
things.
I gotta find. All right. So, um, let's see. So first up, you got anything? We've already covered Image. Boom. You got anything from Boom?
I do. It
Okay.
is. Just want to mention Jeff Lemire's Minor Arcana is on issue 6. We covered issue 1, or was it a free comic book day?
No, it was. We all bought the first issue.
Did we? Okay, yeah.
Of Monarch
I
Con
could have
1.
swore it
Yep.
was some sort of event. But anyway, we liked it, and I said I was going to buy the rest, and guess what? I did. For once, I followed through, and
Oh, okay.
I haven't read them yet, but I do have them. So
Okay.
I've gotten I have like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. I don't really know, but 6 is being solicited here, and yeah, now I really want to dig back into it, so I'm leaving it up on my screen so it reminds me to order it.
Okay. I'll tell you what. I'm going to back up to Image just for a second.
Okay.
Because Diamond does list Medieval Spawn #1
Yeah.
and Spawn Black Ritual Book of Nyx #1 as gems of the month. I'm giving both of those a thumbs down. I don't plan on ordering either of those. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm not even. I don't think I'll ever read. I read one Spawn. Well, me and you and Dan read Spawn #1 as a retro read, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't for me, and I don't even want to try. I don't want to do it.
All right. You got anything else from Boom?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. What about Titan? You got anything from Titan Comics?
No. No.
Okay. Well, they've got 2 gems of the month as well. It's amazing how the publishers are with Diamond are the ones that get gems of the month from Diamond.
Yeah, and it's funny. Titan is just like trying to out Dynamite, I think, on
Yeah.
on these covers now.
Well, Titan has been having some pretty good stuff. I mean, I've been reading a lot of Blade Runner from Titan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but this month it's Heatseeker Gun Honey Volume 2
Yeah.
and Lenore the Time War hardcover are their gems of the month. I'm definitely going to give a thumbs down to Heatseeker Gun Honey. What about you?
Yeah. Probably thumbs down. Yeah.
Now, I have heard lots of people have positive things to
Yes.
say about Lenore. I have never read anything Lenore. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to give it a thumbs down. I'm probably not going to order this either, but I'm not going to insult anybody by giving a thumbs down to something that a lot of people seem to like. So
Yeah, I don't know the first thing about it. Now, I've actually not Heatseeker, but I've heard Gun Honey, the main series, has some good stories. I've heard podcasters talk about it, so
Okay.
can't necessarily discount them just for the girly art.
yes, for the covers. So
Yeah.
all right, let's see. Dynamite. All right, so we finally made it to Dynamite. So in Dynamite, I do want to mention. Actually, I got a couple of things to talk about in Dynamite.
Yeah.
First one is Captain Planet #1.
Yeah.
I'm also probably not going to order this, but this is my chance to throw out Mark Spear's name again. He has the main cover for Captain Planet #1 from Dynamite. Now, a lot of times his covers are like the incentive 1 in 10, 1 in 50, 1 in 100. So if you've been missing out on getting yourself a Mark Spears cover and you are a fan of Captain Planet, a cover, regular price, here's your chance to grab it. So
Yeah.
it's also a gem of the month. I'm not going to order it myself because I was never a Captain Planet fan.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
I had it earmarked, so yeah, I think I am going to
Oh, okay.
order it. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. This is one of those Hanna-Barbera characters, from the animated series back in whatever decade that was in.
Yep.
And some of these most recent revamps have been pretty good. Space Ghost and Johnny Quest and things like that. So yeah, I'm going to give it a try.
All right. Now, the other gem of the month from Dynamite is Red Sonja versus Army of Darkness. I'm definitely out on this one. I'm going to give it a thumbs down.
Yeah, same for me. Thumbs down.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Now, but I am going to throw out there, and maybe you might have had this one as well. Giant Sized Wacky Races #1. I remember this cartoon. This was a Saturday morning cartoon where you just had all the heroes versus all the villains. They were having some type of race. I just have very limited memories of this, but I remember, Speed Racer, not Speed Racer. Oh my gosh, what was the buggy?
Herbie. Herbie?
Okay, no, not Herbie the Love Bug. Anyway, maybe it was a different Herbie. I don't know, but I had some fond memories of this cartoon. If this was a one shot, I would for sure order it. With it, I guess going to be a ongoing.
It's got Dick Dastardly and Muttley.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
the voice over for those are. Oh my gosh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, the way Muttley would laugh.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, okay. So it was on from 1968 to 1970. So I had to have seen this as reruns.
Yeah,
Because I wasn't even a twinkle in my daddy's eye yet in early 1970s. So yeah, but I have fond memories of these reruns. So
that's pretty cool.
I wish it would say. I guess it's gonna be an ongoing until it's not.
Yeah.
So I probably won't order it, but it's cool just to talk about.
Sure. Yeah, that is.
Okay, I think that's all I got from Dynamite. You got anything else from Dynamite?
I don't.
Okay, let's see here. So what's next? Okay, I guess it's just the rest of the catalog.
Yeah, it's the comics and graphic novels and things.
I got like 4 things left. So how many do you got?
I have 1, 2, 3.
3. All right. Well, I'll go first, and then we'll just round around.
Okay.
All right. So from Valiant, which is a name we have not heard from a while, and I also suspect that this is going to be impacted by everything that's going on with Diamond, but we have Valiant Beyond, all new Harbinger. It's a 3-issue series, and it's being written by Fred Van Lente. Now, apparently last month, there was also a Valiant Beyond Bloodshot and Shadow Man books, because those are on issue 2, at least what's being solicited. So I totally missed that. So anybody who's a fan of the Valiant verse, all right, if these ever make it to a publisher, or not to a publisher, but to distribution, be on the lookout for these books from Valiant.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my mention next is actually an Offered Again, and it just so happens it's one of the Mark Russell books I was trying to think of, the Martian one, and it's called Traveling to Mars, and it's the trade paperback collection of that. I think it was 11 issues. I remember thinking when I had, I hadn't gotten through reading the whole thing, I'm like, where is issue 12? Where is issue 12? And it turns out it ends with 11. But that is one of the better stories I've heard, not just from Mark Russell, but overall in the last 5 years, one of the best stories I've read. So it's collected for $30, and you can get it March 19th.
All right. Well, I'm going to see your Offered Again and raise you with an Offered Again.
Oh.
Because I missed it before. This was The Art of Simon and Kirby's Studios. And it is basically a selection of work chosen from Joe Simon's private archives. And it's actually being put together by Mark Evanier, who wrote a biography on Kirby, just simply called Kirby. It's an excellent book, and with Mark Evanier's name attached to it. He worked under Kirby.
Yeah, he worked with him
for several years. So this is actually coming out from Abrams Comic Arts. So I can't find it on the page. It must be collapsed in, but I don't think it was particularly expensive. I think it was relatively inexpensive for a book like that. So that may be something I pick up to put on the shelf. I don't know. What does it see? But it is an Offered Again. So.
All right. Under Tomorrows, since we didn't have an alter ego or a back issue magazine this month, I did a Tomorrow's word search, and I found Marshall Rogers' Brightest Days and Darkest Nights. And Marshall Rogers he was a great artist.
Amazing.
Yes. I mean, he was integral to the storylines that Steve Englehart brought in, that Batman fans going way back will remember the Dark Knight Detective, Hugo Strange, the Joker Fish, Silver St. Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah. So I'm it's this needs to be in my collection of reference books and art books. For $37.95, I think I could do worse. And even that cover, I just love the look of it.
In 1990, 1991, Marshall Rogers was at a comic book convention in St. Louis. He was there. Dave Sim was there. Gerard was there, and
Wow.
I got to watch Marshall Rogers doing a Batman sketch. It was just a black and white,
Yeah.
but it's like it had the big black cape. So he basically, he drew it in, and then he would use I think he was just working with like Sharpies. So he would Sharpie the line, and then you get the next sticker thing to start doing around the edge of the outside of the cape. Then you get the big giant thick Sharpie and fill in, the bulk of the cape. But it's just one of those things. It's just amazing to watch some of those guys,
Yeah.
when they draw. So I have had the privilege to actually watch Marshall Rogers. I
That's
don't have
really
any
cool.
Marshall Rogers art, but I did actually get to see him draw
Yeah.
something. So.
He died way too young at age 57 in 2007. Yeah. It's a real shame.
So here's the book that should be an insult to most people. This is from John Wiley and Sons. We have Captain America for Dummies. And there also is a Marvel Comics for Dummies as well. So there you go.
We have some synchronicity this time around, Scott, because that was my last pick was Marvel Comics for Dummies. Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
well, yeah. So
I mean, it was just I only thought, well, that's great for me, and I don't take it as an insult because I remember those back in the day of when those Windows for Dummies. That's
Windows
how
for
I
Dummies,
learned
yep.
how to get around a computer. Windows 3.1 for Dummies,
yep.
and I think I would like to have this because I could then have somewhat of an intelligent conversation with a Marvelite like you and many other people.
Well, I guess I should buy you the Marvel for Dummies, and you should buy me the DC for Dummies.
I didn't even know they have a DC for Dummies.
I don't think they do yet.
Okay,
but,
all right.
maybe they will. So.
Okay.
All right. Sorry to steal that from you. So I'll go to my last thing here, and this is actually a game from Spin Master called Marvel Comic Hunters Strategy Game. Now, this I would not normally even consider purchasing this. However, all of the premise is you're trying to build like the best Marvel collection. So all of the cards have covers from Marvel Comics. So like I'm looking at the artwork, so it's just comic book artwork on all the cards, and I can see like the first issue of the like Mark Waid run on Captain America, and then there's like the first appearance of Carnage cover, and then there's some Doctor Strange cover. So it's got how many cards are actually in this. Does it even say? Okay, it doesn't say how many cards are included. But I was looking to see if it had that information. Come on, tell me how many cards. But anyway, they also so it is just artwork, and there's Silver Age, Bronze Age. They say here Golden Age, so I'm not really for sure Golden Age wise who would that be. I guess if they're going back to the Timely stuff for the Golden Age. But I mean, like Amazing Fantasy 15. So, and it's apparently you can play it solo or up to 4. I'm assuming it's some type of like trick gathering. You had to get a set of a certain, like with the Captain America icon or the Hulk icon or whatever, form tricks or whatever, kind of like you would in like a Spade style game.
Right.
But it may be worth it just to have the artwork.
Absolutely.
Just inside of a little card game. So I won't order this, because a lot of times when you do game stuff from, your distributors, I'll probably try to find a game store to get this from, actually. But yeah, so there you go. This is a Marvel Comic Hunters strategy game. It's a card drafting comic collecting strategy game. All right, let me double check and make sure we got all of the gems of the month. We sure did. So, Mike, is there something coming out that you are particularly looking forward to?
Well, I actually had prepared for the investment pick, but not for what I'm looking forward to. But I can quickly say the Power Company book is something I'm looking forward to.
All right. I think I already hinted at this, but for me, it's going to be that Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. I'm going to hope it tickles that nostalgia button just a little bit. I hope, I haven't read any. I don't guess I've read anything from Chris Claremont in quite a while. So who knows if it will still land, but I'm hopeful. But Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler are like my two favorite X-Men. So it's with Kitty Pryde being in the book, and maybe hopefully getting back to more of her roots. And then again that tie back to that Kitty Pryde and Wolverine series.
Yeah,
that's got me interested. So I'm gonna be buying that whole series, and just hope that it's good. Well, you said you had an investment pick, so what do you got for us, Mike?
Well, it was the Harley Quinn, the Gun Bunny's first appearance, but then there was the other one that oh gosh, I noticed it when it first. We'll just stick with the Gun Bunnies. There was something else that we talked about.
Was it probably the Chamberlains, because that's going to be mine.
That was it. That was the Chamberlains. Whenever that caught my eye about the Sony Entertainment thing. But no, you go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So since that one has already got a deal, and like I said, Keen Spot's hot right now. They're selling a lot of books because of the Mark Spears Monster stuff. So that's got a chance. I think it's got a decent premise. So since it's already being picked up, Sony just has to find a distributor. Yeah. So there you have it. It's definitely, and I just completely off topic, but I guess Sony distributes Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, and they're pulling that distribution back. They're taking back control over it.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen with that. So maybe Sony's going to have a push here for some type of streaming service. So, or a sub stream or something, if they're going to be pulling, some of their products back, and but again, that's just complete speculation.
Right.
Okay. Mike, do you want to talk about what's coming up in the next episode, or do you want me to do that?
Well, I was just looking up what we were talking about, and I thought we had it in our feed, but I don't see it yet. So,
okay.
But you go ahead. Yep.
Okay, so coming up in our next, we're going to talk about the first 5 appearances of Hercules, and that's the Marvel Hercules. We're going to see if Mike can convince me to then talk about the DC Hercules or not. I don't know. Then I guess we could do an independent Hercules. But maybe we won't go that far. But anyway, the first 5 appearances of Marvel's Hercules, and we'll have to decide if we're going to start in Avengers 10 or Journey into Mystery Annual 1. All right, and then of course we're going to talk about what we've been reading, because Mike and I are chugging along in our 500 books. So I think we're both about 20% of the way through 500.
Yes, we're getting close to
the 100.
The 100 mark. So, yes, yeah.
And
we're only a month in. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're into the second month.
Yeah, we're 4 days into the second month, so not far. Yeah.
So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about on what we've been reading, and then we're going to try to remember to do a CLZ shake next time.
Yeah.
So, all right. So Mike, you mentioned the road show earlier. You got anything extra you want to say about the road show?
No, just that the next. I go ahead and can reveal it now. It's the shop is in Austin. It's Austin Comics and Games, I believe. Our games and comics, or books and comics, I think is what it is. And the book is, like I said, the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. It's an oversized hardcover collection of. It's the first volume because there are 2 volumes, but I learned a lot about Scrooge McDuck and his life and his times.
All right, cool. All right, and then you can reach out to Mike and I at podcasts@birdcomics.com. And, of course, you can leave us a comment on the Facebook page for Campus Comics Cast. Just search for Campus Comics Cast. We really appreciate everybody who has taken the time to leave us some comments. And a special thanks to Eric at longboxreview.com for sending in some recommendations this month for some books. So, Mike, where can somebody reach out to you at?
You can also find me on Blue Sky under Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow, and also Mike at comicshoproadshow.com, the email address. So any of those ways, I will be found.
All right. And then I'm Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, BURG comics.com, and there I have links to my eBay store, social media pages, and you can reach out to me there. We'll be back soon with First 5 Hercules and what we've been reading.
We made it. All right. We made it. 8:02. I'm going to shut off my sound recorder unless you want material. Well, I don't know. Do we need any material? Do you want to say something stupid? Should I say something stupid? That's the funny thing about saying something stupid. You don't necessarily know it's stupid. When you can't do it when you're trying. It just happens. Right. Yeah. Okay. Maybe it just did. There you go.
Back in 1940, 8 sensational heroes united to create the world's very first superhero team, the Justice Society of America. Now, 85 years later, we're gathering podcasters and bloggers from around the globe for a month-long celebration in an event we're calling JSAPril. Throughout April 2025, join dozens of all-star podcasters and bloggers as they each share their own unique tributes to the original and greatest superhero team, covering exciting topics like
Superman Family number 211, October 1981.
Mr. and Mrs. Superman attend the wedding of Batman and Catwoman.
JSA number 1 from 2024.
JSA 68 through 72.
All-Star Comics number 58.
JSA number 59 from 2004.
Justice League of America 171.
And Justice League of America 172.
The Legacy of the JSA Character Names.
The Brave and the Bold number 61.
The Golden Age Wonder Woman JSA Adventures.
JLA, JSA, Virtue and Vice, 2002.
DC Special number 29, featuring The Untold Origin of the Justice Society.
Infinity Inc. Annual number 1, JSA number 38, and the Stargirl TV series.
Justice Society of America number 6 from 1993.
Justice Society of America number 20.
Justice Society of America Annual number 1, 2008.
Justice Society of America number 10 from 2007.
All-Star Comics number 4 from 1941.
The Wonder Woman Spectacular from 1978.
Celebrate with JSA 85th birthday cookies.
The 1987 Infinity Inc. and Outsiders Specials.
Wanted, the world's most dangerous villains number 6 from 1973.
The recent Alan Scott Green Lantern miniseries.
Examining the role of the Justice Society in the crisis.
And the effect the crisis had on the team.
More Fun Comics 55 from 1940.
Contrasting the Justice Society of America versus Marvel's Invaders.
In Post-Crisis, how the JSA inspired the JLA.
Justice League of America number 29 through 30, plus The Flash number 123.
Golden Age Origins number 1.
Showcase number 97 to 99 from 1978.
The Justice Society versus Extant.
All-Star Squadron, issues 19 and 20 from 1983.
All-Star Comics, issues 60 to 63.
JSA number 56 through number 58 from 2004.
JSA, The Liberty File.
Justice Society of America, Thy Kingdom Come.
And that's just some of the topics that will be covered during the celebration. Get ready for a thrilling month of beloved characters, fascinating insights, and incredible stories. Follow the action on social media with the hashtag JSAPril, and visit our website for a complete list of participating podcasters, bloggers, and what they're each covering at fireandwaterpodcast.com/JSAPril.